Female, unfortunately, was pronounced deceased upon arrival at the hospital. A second adult male is in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. 2 adult males have non-life-threatening injuries. 2 adult females also have non-life-threatening injuries. The MPD forensic science team responded to the incident to collect evidence, and a handgun was recovered from the scene. Our investigators are working hard to determine the sequence of events that led to the shooting. However, this location is known to have been problematic in the past for homeless encampments. There are unhoused individuals who are sleeping underneath the bridge at that location. However, it is unknown what relationship the people shot, the people involved with this shooting, have with the encampment at that location. The MPD has multiple surveillance cameras in the area, and our 3rd Precinct and Southside React team have conducted proactive activity there in the area. The property in question where this occurred is owned both by Metro Transit and Hennepin County. This just highlights an ongoing problem that we've had around homeless encampments. I know it's been incredibly frustrating to a lot of our residents who live close by. Unfortunately, these locations are, they're known for narcotics activity, and they're just not safe. I would say if anyone is considering staying at one of these homeless encampments, thinking that it's a safe place to stay, it's simply just not. And we know very well that the police are not the answer to the unhoused problem. We're not going to arrest our way out of it. But we need the area to be safe for those in the community that live there. So that's the status of the investigation as we have it at this time, and I'll open it up to any questions.
So you acknowledge that it is in fact kind of a climbing area,
Yep.
potentially drugs, there's so many people who say it's been an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
What is being done by the city, by MPD, by anyone?
Sure. So the police department, so for one, the police department is not the lead in regard to clearing homeless encampments for the city. That's one. Number 2, it's not City of Minneapolis property. And so whenever we have problems with these homeless encampments, it becomes an issue of whose property is it. We've had them at private property, where then we have to get the person who owns the property involved in the legal process to then vacate these encampments. I can just say, in general, we've identified 6 major encampments in Minneapolis this year. This one was not one of the major ones this year, although in the past, just since I've been here, it has been. That's why there's a lot of fencing that's been installed there. Just to give people a sense of how crime concentrates around these encampments, within a block of encampments, those 6 that are active this year, we've had 28 aggravated assaults, 71 either shot spotter activations or reports of shots fired, and we've had 8 shooting incidents, including 2 homicides. So it's staggering numbers of crimes that happen at these locations, considering this is a really, really small pieces of geography that we're talking about.
I'm a little confused. You keep mentioning the encampments. It seems like you were there and there's like 1 or 2 tents there. Mm-hmm. Is it really an encampment there right now, or is there more just drug addicts gathering under the bridge?
There's people who sleep under the bridge. It's not an encampment in the sense that there's tents there like you see in yurts and other places around the city, but there's definitely people sleeping underneath the bridge there, and as I'm sure you know, that location has historically been one where people come, unhoused people come and stay.
Can you say anything more about the nature of the unruly crowd? Like, did they come in after people were shot, and where did they?
Yeah, the officers, obviously whenever the officers are responding to an incident like this, the number 1 priority is to find and identify all the victims that they had. They didn't know how many people were shot. And then also to be able to provide first aid and then secure the scene and prevent evidence from leaving. There was a gun there, at least 1 gun that we know of. The officers called for help because the individuals that were there, about 20 or 30 people that were there, I believe, just were not obeying commands to kind of just get back and allow the officers to provide first aid.
So it sounds like you're saying that you don't know who the shooter is or why they shot people at this point.
Our investigators are working to determine the sequence of events. As I mentioned, we do have surveillance cameras that are there, and we don't know what relationship, the encampment has regarding this event, other than this is the place where the incident happened.
Was it just one shooter?
I can't comment on that.
One person that was arrested, it was for obstruction.
Yes.
And unrelated. Is he a suspect at all in the shooting? Has he been ruled out?
I have no information one way or the other on that. But he was not, just to be very clear, he was not arrested for the shooting, for the assault, for any kind of gun charge. He was simply arrested at the time because of interfering with the scene there.
From what you know, there were no sort of outsiders that came into the situation. It was basically, it appears to be the people that normally gather there that had gathered there.
I don't know that for sure. I would just say it's 11:30 at night. It's underneath a bridge where people are sleeping.
Is the gun for sure, or has it been ruled out as whether that was the weapon in this case?
We have not determined that one way or the other. Forensics evidence would be able to determine that. There was a gun there. I'm not saying that was the gun that was used. Unfortunately, we have recovered guns, around these encampments before. So it may be, it may not be.
Sure. Is there a hesitation to call this a mass shooting? I think we kind of thought 6 people
Yeah.
were dead. Something
This is a mass shooting. I think generally, there's no specific, definition for that. I would say anything with 4 people or more would be considered a mass shooting.
And how concerning is it that we had a mass shooting?
It's very concerning, obviously, and that's the danger that we have anytime we have groups of people that are together, and just the really obscene amount of illegal guns on the street. You asked about the gun that was recovered there. I don't even know how likely it would be that gun was involved, but it's present there, as way too often there's guns that are present with people who shouldn't have them, and people that are, whether they're on alcohol or involved in other substance abuse issues. I mean, that's something that we see way too much. And so much of the community violence that we see, not just here, but in other cities, starts over complete nonsense most of the time. An argument will happen, or some sort of beef, and then you have tragedy. You have violence that happens, and certainly with multiple people shot, that's really, really concerning.
Chief, what's next? I mean, shoot this encampment out, wait for another one to spring back up. What's next?
As far as for us, we're moving forward with the investigation to determine what happened. As far as the encampment, that is not, this particular location is not owned by the city of Minneapolis, so it would not be led by the city of Minneapolis.
So the shooter's still out there. There's still people gathering under the bridge. What will be done to kind of prevent something like this from happening?
Like I said, we have our cameras that are there. We have been trying to monitor this location as we try to monitor all of the other homeless encampments, simply because these tend to be places where crime concentrates. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to work proactively, to do what we can to arrest people when appropriate. But the homelessness problem, the encampment problem, is not something that the police can arrest our way out of.
Is it the county that has it under the bridge there? Or who has it?
The property in that area is owned both by the county as well as transit. And I'm not sure
Right.
based on where this happened.
But some residents who live, deeper into the neighborhood, further up on Franklin, they say that, some of the crime naturally migrates up, the drug use.
Yes.
Went to business, they have needles everywhere.
I know.
So that is in your jurisdiction.
Yep.
What do you say to their concerns that police are reluctant to respond, don't respond in a quick manner, or that, there isn't the resources there to help them when they ask for it?
I've been there. I have walked a lot of these neighborhoods. I have heard these concerns myself from residents, and they should not have to deal with it. I've been there with a woman telling me, she just had to take a needle out of her dog's mouth. Another one person telling me their kid has to wait for the bus nearby, and they don't want, the people associated with all this activity near their kid. We are responding. We are doing everything that we possibly can, to try and address this. But this is the homelessness, and really, in a lot of ways, it's less a homelessness issue as it is an opioid and fentanyl addiction problem. Especially in these places where we're seeing so many needles and obviously evidence of substance abuse. Like, that's really part of what's driving the activity.
Chief, I wanted to revisit for a second one of the conversations you were having during the briefing last week about how the number of gunshot victims down year over year citywide. We were talking about some pockets in South Minneapolis,
Yes.
and I was looking at the dashboard today. East Phillips is one of those pockets
Yep.
where we're seeing an increase. Maybe that goes back to the homeless encampment thing we're talking about here, but what
No.
do you say about the trend?
Yeah, I mean, there's different issues. Excuse me. It's a complex problem. There's different issues at play. There are locations, there are places where it concentrates in South Minneapolis based on the environment and other conditions that are there. Certainly, homelessness encampments can be one of them. But other locations in South Minneapolis, whether it's the types of businesses that are there, the type of activity on the street, that has contributed more so, I would say, to some of the concentrations that we're seeing, and that's why we have had, we brought in like risk-based terrain modeling to try and deal with some of the concentrations in South Minneapolis, to try and use our proactive policing as smartly as we can, in addition to trying to go after the people who are most likely responsible for a lot of the activity at these places. So that being said, this particular location has not been, if you will, a hot spot. Because generally there's nobody there. There's no stores there. But certainly, Phillips and Seward and these neighborhoods along Franklin Avenue in the corridor, yes, we have had challenges.
We have time for one more question. Anybody wants to? How do you get in front of this? How do you try to salvage this?
Well, we know we're not going to be able to prevent every shooting, right? But it's continuing to stay the course. I believe with all of the partners that we have involved in law enforcement, trying to go after the folks who are out here pulling triggers, who have illegal guns, and try and get them off the street. But again, we live in a city that has way too many guns, illegal guns on the street as it is. And so we're never going to be able to prevent everything, but certainly we want to try and prevent